Good morning, everyone. Starrick Smith, Hungry Black Man here, along with our co-host, Joe Tracy.
Good morning.
We are in for an amazing show today. We actually have some really incredible special guests with Valencia Gunter, who is the CEO and the creator of Make the Homeless Smile, an organization that is literally at the forefront of ensuring social justice for thousands of people all over the nation, based right here out of Miami. We are super excited to have her on. And then we have a real treat for you guys where Miss Carla Hall, Miss Carla Hall, who is one of the nation's most notable chefs, celebrity chefs, Emmy Award-winning chef, was the host of The Chew, an ABC syndicated, nationally watched show for years. Miss Carla Hall is going to be on today. She's coming on at 10:30, so definitely share this live. We are just super excited to have Miss Hall on today. So we're going to discuss her cookbook. We're going to discuss some of this drama around Aunt Jemima and all of the racist food products that still exist and some of the ones that adorn our shelves. So we're going to also discuss some recipes in her book. So Miss Carla Hall will be on our show today at 10:30. So if you love what you're seeing so far, guys, please share the show. That's how we're going to sustain this morning show and give South Florida something that is exciting, something that's intellectual, and something that you can really, really enjoy. So we're super excited about our guest today. And we're going to kick the show off by playing you guys a video that a young queen created. We said that we were going to start promoting our local music, and we're going to stick with that. So without further ado, this artist's name is Diana Hardy, aka Dynasty, and she created this incredible song in reference to what's happening in our nation today. So I hope you guys enjoy it, and here it goes.
Want to hear it? Here it go. Okay, right. Raise your hand if you got the reference. I think you have to be over 35 to get that reference.
Brown body in the street. Took that precious girl daddy. Tell me how she gon' sleep. Knowing the kid died at the hands of the police. Part of me every means to his neck and his back. Every offense is multiplied just for being black. Wait, actually, I can't even say that. Cause you can be taken in your sleep. Imagine that, resting peacefully in bed. Body riddled with bullets and they turned around and fled. Sorry y'all, but I can't get this through my head. How these same people took an oath to serve and protect, but you still got
I love that little girl.
Protesters next. Bulls looking in the camera. What a flex. So now you gotta deal with the effects of a people fed up and tired of being oppressed, tired of being upset, tired of being depressed. The trauma that we carry is finally being addressed. You blew the lid off of what was being suppressed. We call it uprising, you call it civil unrest. Reporter got the nerve to ask you why you upset and what it's gonna take to get your people to seats. But they don't understand that we resilient and blessed, and they really should address these questions to the police. Tell me why you so mad. Damn, can we live? I don't think I got it in me to forgive. You took somebody's auntie, partner, friend. forward to the other side. Optimism, I gotta stay in the light. Sending love to everybody out here in the fight. Like a brother Kendrick told us, we gon' be alright. Right? Keep your head to the sky. Fist in the air. Feet on the ground. Ear to the street. Voices aloud. Hearts intertwined. We black and we proud. Love one another. Hold each other accountable. Powerful as one. Together we insurmountable. I know you out there doing what you gotta do. I need you to know that I love you and I'm proud.
Hey, Joey,
I just need you to know that I see you and I'm proud of you. I need you to remember that you royal.
I can't do the 10 a.m.
Please remember that you royal.
I'm literally in the middle of doing a show.
I need you to remember.
Oh, that's sweet.
Right. So again, that is an artist that is a local artist, and she is doing some incredible music. If you want to check her out, I'm gonna put her info here, and you guys definitely. I mean, we need to support our local artists, and we definitely need to support local music. So I'm going to put her info here, and then we're going to get started. Again, guys, we are going to be discussing some interesting topics, and I wanted to let you guys know that we are going to be bringing on at 10:30 Miss Carla Hall, Chef Carla Hall, international chef, celebrity chef from the Emmy Award-winning show The Chew. So please be on the lookout for that. She comes on today at 10:30, and we're going to be bringing on Miss Valencia Gunter in about 20 minutes with Make the Homeless Smile. Jill had to, she said, send me the link. I don't know what happened. Just dropped off. Okay. You click the same link, Jill. Click the same link. So we're going to kick off the show with our Karen report. And our Karen report today is a Kroger grocery store incident where a woman is blocking a Black woman from leaving the store for some ridiculous reason. We notice a rise in Karens across the nation, and it's really, really rising to the point of a national, a really, really serious national issue. And so there may be some psychological underlining issues that are going on with some of these women, specifically happening to white women. And so I think that that's something that we definitely need to research. So let's get Jill back on because Jill got knocked off. And so we're going to start off with that Karen report, and then we're going to go to our Sambo roundup. And that goes to this Sambo chef, this Sambo sheriff that is defending the shooting of Rayshard Brooks. That's another pandemic that's happening. Too many Sambos. Here we go. She's back.
Not
all right, Joe.
Too many Sambos. Yeah, because I just watched, Rick's Scott, the Black Sambo of the Senate on just now with a bunch of Fugazi. And why is he the only one with no mask on? It's just too much.
I'm tired of Tim Scott. He's such a disappointment. I thought that he would be like a Bush Republican. I was hoping
exactly
that he would be like a Bush Republican, but he's turning out to be just another Sambo. Because Colin Powell was a respectable Black Republican.
Thank you.
You know?
Yeah.
And to the extent Condoleezza Rice as well.
Mm-hmm.
To an extent. She was teetering on the...
I mean, just the idea of Black Republican, is a contradiction of terms to a degree.
All right.
Which is why you oppose being called.
Yeah.
Republican.
I'm a registered Democrat, but I don't follow a
Lean
lot of, I
right.
don't follow a lot of the Democratic. I'm a conservative Democrat. So if that's a term, then that's what I am. We're gonna play this Sambo report. Oh no, we're gonna play the Karen report for you guys now. This happened again at a Kroger grocery store, and we're gonna go ahead.
My cousin's here. Okay, sorry.
So yeah, we are really looking into this, and I know I say it in jest, but this is really becoming a series of problematic behaviors with white women. And it's just a big problem. So let's go to the Karen report, you guys, and let you guys see this, and then we'll get into our conversation.
At the Kroger 8 Mile. I want you from behind my vehicle. You are holding me here. I don't have a video of your child. Hey, how y'all doing? This is ridiculous.
What?
I have never been through this. I'm here at Kroger's. And I'm actually in the middle of my job. And this woman refuses to move from behind my vehicle. Listen, I am online. The way you talk to my kids in the aisle, you don't think they were well behaved, man. You have been very horrible, ma'am. And you're being very horrible. The police are tell you you're wrong. You can't hold me.
How can I talk to the people?
And I'm not able to leave the store. And I'm recording this. I'm recording this. Y'all see this mess? News was out here because she came out here, she called me.
All right. So it goes on like that, right?
So why was she standing in back of the woman's car?
So she apparently felt disrespected in the store at the way that the lady's kids were behaving. And so she wanted to confront her about it, and she wouldn't move out of the way of the car. And she just stood there. And then she called her a bitch, and it just goes on and on and on. And so my thing is,
they never called the police.
They did, and it was too long to watch. I just wanted to give people, a little snippet of
the Karens are out there.
The Karen report. Now we're gonna immediately go on to our Sambo report, because Sambo roundup. And for those of you who are new to the show, every day we have a Sambo roundup and we have a Karen report, because these two things are national pandemics as well. We have Sambos that are out of control. These individuals are individuals that are problematic to our race, and they are creating some major issues when it comes to trying to find the right amount of activism and justice for our people. These people are literally fighting against that, and they're getting a lot of press. So they're coming out of the caves, they're coming out of the barns, they're coming out of the former plantations that they still live on. And so many of them actually live in former slave cabins, and they've dressed them up all nice. And so this guy definitely lives on a former plantation over in Savannah. And so he came out of his plantation cabin to share this with you guys. So let's listen to this bullshit that
How can I answer people that are leaving comments? I noticed Janae was able to do it yesterday, but him. Oh, Jesus.
All right, you guys, listen, this is going to be very, very difficult for you guys to listen to.
It really is.
So please,
it really is. I could have vomited.
We have to call these people out. So this guy, as I stated, he left his plantation to do this interview. And so we are going to listen to this bullshit. All right. Here we go.
You know, the family attorney in this case says that police should have tried to catch Brooks instead of shooting at him. What is your reaction to that?
Having 30 years in the business, police and law enforcement, and 27 of those years having taught use of force and taught hundreds and hundreds of law enforcement officers across the state of Georgia and other states. I just think that he's a lawyer. He's not a law enforcement officer. I think that it's just a ridiculous statement. Obviously, we saw on the video that Brooks was engaged in a fight with the officers. They were on the ground. We know that when we're on the ground, we have a very high likelihood of being hurt or killed.
Shut your ass up.
We want to be. This is not a wrestling match. Brooks is able to take a non-lethal weapon, a taser, away from one of the officers, and he flees. They give chase. He's committed to felony obstruction of an officer counts, and he needs to be held accountable. So they were perfectly justified in running behind Brooks to capture him. Brooks turned back to the officers and fired the taser. And we all know, this is the third law enforcement agency I've been head of, and every agency I've
Jesus Christ,
required every officer who carries a taser to be tased with it, so that you understand the incapacitation. 5 seconds, 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005. That's 5 whole seconds that if an officer is hit with that taser, that all of his muscles will be locked up and he'll have the inability to move and
kill somebody.
And yet he is still responsible for every weapon on his belt. So if that officer had been hit, he still has a firearm on his side, and the likelihood of him being stomped in the head or having his firearm taken and used against him was a probability. And so he what he needed to do.
The man who was running.
What is he talking about?
Shooting.
And where you get that fucking coat from?
Jacket from.
That jacket is fucking awful.
The Fourth Amendment allows it. This is the objective reasonableness standard, and there's nothing malicious or sadistic in the way these officers behave, and it's very unfortunate that the law enforcement leaders in the state of Georgia have not come out and stood
Thank you, Nick Grant.
on this case. I think it's political, and it's senseless. We're sending the wrong message to our Black youth. We're telling them that it's okay, that they can run from the police, they can take a weapon from the police, they can fight with the police, and
live.
A weapon at the police.
That's not gonna happen.
Nothing to happen. That is the wrong message to send to Black
Ooh.
youth. Now we cannot.
Wait.
Put this case with the Ahmaud Arbery case, nor the George Floyd case. When I saw the George Floyd case, I was outraged. 2 weeks ago, I was so outraged that I wrote a letter to the governor.
He's reading.
Head of the Georgia Association of Chiefs of Police.
You're right.
And the head of the Georgia Sheriff's Association, and I provided them with 7 standards that I think are very necessary to prevent Black men from being killed at the hands of police in the way it was done in the Floyd case and the Ahmaud Arbery case. I graduated high school with Ahmaud Arbery's mother. Those are outrageous, very clear violations of policy and law.
All right. So that was our Sambo Roundup. This sheriff presides over a county, just so you guys know, that it's located in East Georgia, and it's 49% Black, 49.5% Black, and it's 47.5% white. So he just locked in his reelection because there's going to be at least 2% of the Black population to be Sambos, and every single member of that white population is going to vote for him. So, yeah, he locked in his reelection. So I guess that was what that was for.
Yeah.
That was incredible. All right. And so
Now,
I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, tell me again how I can answer the people over here.
Joe, it's literally it's a comment section, and you just write your comment. It should be a column, and
I see the column. I just don't see where I can type.
It's at the bottom. It says all, and it says post a comment.
I don't have that. Okay, we'll have to deal with
just that. Go to the right. Do you see a screen that says comments that you can click?
I see private chat and live comments.
Click live comments.
Yeah, and I can see them. It just doesn't show me anywhere I can respond to them.
I mean, I don't know what's happening. Janae did it. All right. So our last thing, guys, I don't know if you've known, but again, just to let the people who join, I want to let you guys know we will have a celebrity guest on today with Chef Carla Hall at 10:30, who will be discussing this cookbook along with our next clip. Well, not really a clip, but something that just happened. There are a number of racist food brands that are definitely problematic in today's society. And I think that most of the companies that are changing this, in some way, they feel that that's contributing to the diminishing of racism. So more power to them. But these things are things that we've literally asked them to change for years. The Aunt Jemima brand the brand has adorned the face of a stereotypical Black woman that really was a mammy, started out as a mammy, and they made her softer, less unattractive over the years. But now they've taken the entire face off. And so The Onion, which is a satirical website that came up with this incredible sort of just incredible story behind why Quaker Oats did it. So I'm going to share that with you guys right now. And Jill, you might want to look in the comments because some people have some solutions for you as to how to comment on the comment section. So
thank you, Nick.
I'm going to put this up for you guys, and we're going to get into this with the 1 second. All right. So this is The Onion's proposal for the replacing of Aunt Jemima. Chicago. In response to nationwide protests regarding police brutality and racial discrimination, food conglomerate Quaker Oats announced Friday that after 130 years, it would replace its historically racist Aunt Jemima mascot with a Black female lawyer who enjoys pancakes from time to time. The time has come to replace Jemima, a problematic and stereotypical character that originated in minstrel shows, with Sheila, the public defender of cultivated taste who eats pancakes on occasion, in addition to a variety of other foods, said Quaker Oats spokesman Aaron Parsley, who explained that the former Aunt Jemima brand of syrups and pancake mixes would now bear a logo depicting an African-American woman who wears a suit, carries a briefcase, and isn't aunt per se, and isn't an aunt per se, though she is a godmother to the child of a dear friend she met at an undergraduate at Dartmouth College. Our new mascot is based on several real-life Black women who are lawyers and eat pancakes some mornings when they aren't too busy litigating on behalf of the disadvantaged.
You know what?
While Sheila does enjoy our extended line of breakfast foods, that is only one small facet of her rich and complex identity as a human being. Sheila also speaks fluent Italian, likes U2, is bisexual, and enjoys cross-country skiing. Let us make it clear that Sheila never serves the pancakes herself, but now and then goes to a diner near the courthouse where waitresses and waiters of a variety of races serve them to her. At press time, Mars Inc. announced it would follow suit by replacing the mascot of its Uncle Ben's brand with a Black engineering graduate student.
You know, I just don't have any words for that. I have nothing for that one.
I love the onion. And so, you know, what's really, really funny about this is the onion's ability to really hammer in the absurdity of how brands are responding retroactively to something that has been just heinous for 130 years. And it's so disrespectful, right? It's so disrespectful. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Joe.
No, I was going to say, you know, the fact that they find the need to revamp all of these should tell them they were disrespectful in the first place. And so then to replace them with things that are equally as offensive and comical just tells you there's still nobody at the table to make the decisions about doing this shit. That is the problem. That's why they keep getting it wrong, because they don't have Black folks at the tables to make these decisions. And then they have to keep going back and replace it. And I mean, every major corporation does it. I was talking the other day about Microsoft and the young lady that they had commissioned to do a piece on the side of their building who hadn't done it like quick enough. And they sent her an email telling her that, you know, they needed it to get done while it was still relevant. I mean, you know, there's a time limit on this paying attention to Black folks and their troubles. And we need you to get that up so that, you know, Black folks see that we are the friends of the Black community and you need to still be purchasing Microsoft products. So, you know, that again, we're dealing with like who's in the room to say, okay, this is not how you do this. You don't just respond, you know, every time you've gotten something wrong. At some point, you know, somebody has got to be the adult in the room and say, you know what, the reason why we don't have any diversity in our products is because we have no diversity in this room. So, and until we do, they're just going to keep stepping on their feet. And I think it cost them a couple of $1 million to revamp all of that stuff, but they don't get it. And so the question is, are they that invested in white supremacy to not make the real systematic changes of putting people in those positions who can help? Or, you know, I mean, that's it. That's really just it. Why do we keep circling the drain like this? That's the bigger issue. I don't want every company to now put somebody Black on the face so then they think that'll make me go buy it. I bought it when somebody Black wasn't on the cover. You know what I'm saying? So that it's not necessarily that. And when you start playing those politics, then all of a sudden I'm like, well, what is your corporate culture? Now I am looking at you sideways. Do you know what I'm saying? And I don't know how we are not a Nick, right? We're not a hashtag and we're not on schedule. Everybody, and that's the thing, Nick, everybody, all these corporate entities think it's a fad. Just like now, everybody wants to recognize Juneteenth. I'm sorry. And then they want credit because they are acknowledging.
But you know what? Jill, I have a very, so like when disingenuous people unintentionally do something that's good, I start to kind of backstep in a sense, because I want more companies to promote that, because one of the things that I've been advocating for 9 years, and as you know, is Juneteenth being a federal and a state holiday. Mm-hmm. And so I love that the pandering is resulting in some actual items that we wanted to get accomplished. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I mean, the racism in food, which is what we're going to share with Carla Hall when she comes on, because, you know, as a Black woman on one of the few nationally syndicated talk shows, she's experienced quite a bit of that, I'm sure. But I don't want to talk for her. I don't want to talk for her. And I'm sure that a lot of stuff she probably can't reveal because she's definitely still in the industry. But, you know, you look at the other racist food products that are still out there. You got Chiquita Banana, right? Chiquita Banana with that salacious. She was actually really salacious and perverse. And that was the stereotype.
Chiquita Banana and I meant to say, I mean, you know, the whole thing.
That was hypersexual Latina. You know, then
okay,
you have.
So stop on that point, right?
Okay.
I did not find Aunt Jemima offensive.
I did. Oh, I did.
Really?
Yeah, because she was a fucking mammy. She was a very unattractive, homely woman. No,
Okay.
initially that's what she was. Let me show you the original photo of Aunt Jemima. It's horrific.
Valencia, did you hear what he just said? Aunt Jemima was ugly.
And no, I said she was unattractive. I didn't say
unattractive
ugly.
And ugly. The difference?
No, a big difference. Ugly is derogatory. So let me show you.
Unattractive is complimentary.
Let me show you. Unattractive can be resolved. Ugly can't.
Oh,
no, think about it. If someone uses the word, if someone uses the term unattractive, that could be resolved, right? And that's why you don't use the word ugly, because if someone's unattractive, you can remedy that, right? You might be unattractive to a vast majority of people because you decided that you wanted to change your hair a certain way, and people say, "Well, look, that doesn't look good on you. Change that," right? And so you change it. You can remedy that. You can change that, right?
I changed my hair because somebody else said that's unattractive on you. I'm like, okay, well, yeah, and that beard is real unattractive on your black hair. So, and what?
Right?
I'll recurl my hair.
So let me show you this picture. Let me show the picture.
That is psychotic, but we don't have time for that.
Well, but let me show you this picture before you start doing that, because you're not going to do this.
We're going to show you. I need one of them horns from Reggae Club.
Jemima. This was Aunt Jemima, right? This is how they made her look.
Y'all, please watch this. Put Aunt Jemima, put your unattractive Aunt Jemima up there, please, sir.
Hold on. You know, this was, and it was wrong what they did, you know, and that was how she was on that pancake box for years.
Girl, yes, I got me a little light. I still need one. I need some more blue in this light. I had to put on lipstick because yeah. But thank you, V, for noticing that I got a damn light.
All right, we're gonna invite you. This is how they had Aunt Jemima. This was Aunt Jemima.
Thank you, Anthony Malcolm. That is a very good point.
Here we go.
Valencia Gunter in the building. Hey, Queen. All right, now I have several relatives. Sandra Tires, stand up. My cousin Sandra Tires is in here. Okay, we all have several relatives who favor this woman, and I would dare not call them unattractive.
Are you kidding me? Who looks like that?
Not that one. The other one.
That's what I'm saying. That's what they were showing.
It's a caricature. That's
okay, but
caricature.
That's an unattractive thing there. What is that?
I don't know that I necessarily want to go to unattractive. It's a caricature. It's like if somebody does a cartoon of you and and they exaggerate features. I'm not going to go to just, that's ugly. That's a matter of opinion.
So I didn't say, but what I'm saying is that.
And I guess that's your opinion. So I can, right. I just answered my own.
The thing is that, something unattractive is not pleasing to look at, right? Ugly is something that is it's a different definition, right? Something that's unattractive is something that's not pleasing to look at. So the caricature that they created for Aunt Jemima was unattractive. It wasn't something pleasing to look at. And that's why I didn't use the word ugly.
How many women were Aunt Jemima was based, let's just call a spade a spade. Aunt Jemima was based on probably a slave a picture from back in the day of the big mama of the plantation. That's probably where that image came from, right? So that you're saying that woman is unattractive. I'm sorry, she probably didn't. What?
No, I'm specifically. I'm specifically referring to the caricature that is placed on the Aunt Jemima bottle, right? The initial character, right? Whether or not it was based on an actual person, it was based on the idea of a mammy, right? And a mammy, right, was a woman who, they literally forced to take care of a white family who she couldn't groom herself. She couldn't do anything for her to embrace her everything, right? And so taking that away, and now I'm exasperating the features of that individual and putting it on a bottle, that is a problem, right? And that person as interpreted on that bottle was something that was unattractive. It wasn't that Aunt Jemima, it wasn't that the the loosely based person, whoever they based it off of, was unattractive. I'm talking about the icon, right? Not how it got there, not how it was derived. The initial icon that I just showed you that looks almost inhuman was the thing that I'm referring to as unattractive, right?
But we can't really, you know, that other piece is
let's put Valencia on.
And it's all subjective, but you know,
but you understand, I'm not calling the loosely based historical character of Aunt Jemima unattractive. You made that connection.
Yeah, I'm talking about the image that we all know and love from the pancake box.
Well, that's not what I'm talking about. We're talking about why it's offensive, and that's the origins of it, and that's how it started. So when I was talking, I was referring to how it started out as that reprehensible caricature, and then they changed it because there was an outcry from the Black community saying that particular, it was changed. It changed to that woman.
So who do y'all want on the pancake box? Beyonce, bitch? I mean, really?
No, we don't want.
Why does everything about? Why do we have to be somebody's idea? That woman exists. Hey V.
Hey.
Hi, babe.
I'm great. How y'all doing?
Good to see you. Welcome.
Did not exist. She did not exist.
Nancy Green. It was a model. Nancy Green.
That was.
I don't think the original character was based off a model, but the second version was. And I think my biggest thing was, regardless of how she looked or not, why the hell they didn't cut this woman no check, no type of royalties or nothing?
Well, you know, that's
like I believe, and I know, like people like, oh, this and the third, but Nancy Green was the model off of that. And it was based off of her image, and I feel as if she should have got paid. They could at least did that. Made her family got some money or something.
Girl, we still trying to get paid nowadays for using our likeness. So, you know, that's, and at that time, I mean, that was practically unheard of. I just take great offense to you saying that she was unattractive, and that's the unattractive. Like we all got to be done, up and snatched up to be attractive to somebody else. You gotta love all this. You gotta love all this.
No, Jill. First of all, I was very clear.
Maybe you was not very clear.
I was very clear about the icon. You are making a connection that I did not make, and it's unfortunate that you were doing that. But anyway, the other racist food icons, like the hypersexualized Latina on Chiquita Banana. Then you have the Eskimo on the Eskimo pie. Then you have fucking Uncle Ben that was based off Rastus, who was a subservient houseman. And then you have the cream of wheat guy. No, that was cream of wheat. Cream of wheat guy was based off Rastus, the subservient houseman. Then you have Uncle Ben, who was a caricature as well, right? And these things Uncle Ben was a caricature. No, go ahead. No, he was. Yeah. It was the actual history of Uncle Ben. They came up with him in Chicago, and they based it off a caricature. And so, like, that's a big problem because I think so. What you're saying, Jill, is that because there are Black people that actually the reminiscence of these people, or the likely that the fact that these folks actually looked in a similar fashion that
you can use present tense on, particularly the men.
You think people look like
Uncle Ben,
and you think people look like the cream of wheat guy?
Yes. Yeah, in the comments, anybody in your family, somebody else's family who look like Uncle Ben or the cream of wheat man, just,
So you're saying that there are people that look like the character Samuel Jackson played in that movie right now. In Django. In
Django, that I'm sure if I was in the deep South.
Okay, see now you're sounding.
What? I mean, that's what we look like. I don't get it. I don't get what you are.
What do you mean?
We look like that. I mean, I don't. Do I need to go pull out some fucking family pictures? I mean, really?
Okay, hold on. Let's show this real quick. just so we can know. I just want to make sure that I am understanding correctly. All right, so
Right.
him.
You ain't never seen a black man that look like that.
I have.
Thank you.
Oh, Jesus.
I mean, I don't get where you're going with that.
He's homeless in Atlanta,
Oh,
but I just fed a man who looked like that, haircut and all.
okay.
We call him Georgia Boy. Now, I think that the style of that guy, a person that looks like him may be different because people don't usually wear their hair like that no more because it's 2020, even old people and stuff. But like the facial features and stuff like that, yeah, absolutely. But I actually just literally fed a man like 3-4 days ago who looked just like that. But he was in full transparency. He's homeless, so he can't get a haircut.
You know, and someone said, and guess what? Someone said, and why is he unattractive, right? I am not calling, like, we are not going to do this. I am not calling anybody unattractive. I'm calling the character that was on the Jemima box that looked inhuman unattractive.
And you? Okay, goodbye.
I just showed you the thing, Jill. It was
that man did not the one for the Samuel Jackson. He doesn't look.
No, I'm not talking about Samuel.
What are you talking about?
I'm
talking about an artist rendering, but that picture.
No. That was that wasn't the artist rendering, Jill. That was how she looked. That's how they painted her. She was on the box like that for years.
Her mouth was there was a real. Her mouth was from.
So you're not saying the model who they based the picture off is unattractive. You talk about the caricature that they came up with is unattractive.
That's what I'm.
Because they did over exaggerate some of her features, like the smile thing, Jill. Come on now.
That was the original box. I never saw that image. The one with the big smile. I never saw that on.
So the original box, they did it like almost like what you call it, the minstrel shows back in the day. They over exaggerated like blackface, so that's what they made it look like.
Okay.
So when they drew the picture, it looked like that. So when you come up and you see like the actual model who they based it off of, she was not unattractive. She was a hardworking woman who was forced to work for no money.
Which was the modern day picture of
and that's Nancy Green. That's who that is. That's the person. The name. But that cartoon thing that they drew of her was racist, and it over exaggerated her features.
Yes. The one with the smile up to here. Yes.
Yeah. So I do believe that's unattractive. That's white supremacy and it's wrong.
Thank you.
The original model herself as a human being, she was not unattractive. I mean, she reminds me of a big mama, like somebody who I would look to for nurturing and support. But even comparing the pictures, like this woman's smile ain't do all that. Like they did the most. They did the most. And it was disrespectful.
I never knew that image. That image was on a pancake box.
That was the original one. That was
literally.
And they have all these little miniature fingerings and little cookie jars and stuff like that. Y'all gotta watch Different World. They got a whole episode on it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so on that one, so you are not referencing what was it, post 1940?
Of course not. Jill, no. I'm talking about the historical representation. We have literally sent emails. I used to do lives about this. I used to do lives about removing her from that goddamn box. And I was like, we need to have self-respect and stop buying that shit.
But how? I mean, when did she come? When did the caricature come off the box?
She never came off. She just came off yesterday.
No, it evolved.
It
evolved.
She's talking about the crazy looking.
It evolved, Jill. I think like after like maybe the first 20-something years, they changed it. And then they've been changing, like the woman's face changed like 3-4 times.
Yes.
Because now she got this really cute little shortcut with the thing and all the hot girl, real Madam CJ Walker looking type of stitch. Like, yeah, they switched it out over time, but the original one was ridiculous and disrespectful.
Yeah, okay.
It was.
Right. I thought you were referencing the one in our lifetime.
No. And that I apologize. I didn't give you the background. It's just that I've been literally in this fight for 5 years.
Yeah.
I've been emailing folks. We've tried to I got really mad at Black Enterprise because I went to their golf tournament over at I went to both actually. I went to the one that they had at Doral, and then I went to the one that they had at the Breakers in West Palm Beach. And consistently, they had Pepsi as a sponsor. And it was very disrespectful when I would see the Aunt Jemima. They would have all these like activations and things built up of things like giveaways. And I was just like, how could you partner with someone that's having someone that was based in this very racist caricature that, of course, you soften the features or whatever you did to try to not make it as horrific. But guess what? It's still racist. She is based off of a mammy at the end of the day. So take her off the box, because nobody black is getting royalties from that. And a lot of folks, do you know there is a group on Facebook called Good Old Soul Foods. It's over 1 million members. And so I used to do lives there. I used to put things there. And I put a post up that said, hey guys, give me every black owned brand, right? Give me the black owned brand. And you know what was crazy? You know how many fucking people put Aunt Jemima and Uncle Ben, but dead ass serious? And they were like putting that, and I had to literally go through, and if I could cry, I would have cried. I had to go through my nap. It was so many posts that we had to go through and tell them it's not black owned. Just like Stubbs Barbecue. You know, people think Stubbs Barbecue is black owned because there's a black face on it. And it's so unfortunate that black people, when they make their own brands, that they don't put their faces on there. Because now if you put, because they do the opposite, because we think that, hey, you know, it's been such a racist history. I don't want to put my face on there. But we should, because now apparently that's how black people shop when they go in the store. If they see a black face on a box, they're more likely to buy it. And that transitions us into our conversation for the day, V. We're going to have to bring V back on because Carla Hall's coming on at 10:30, and V has a lot going on, and we want V to share some of the things he has going on. So I'm going to turn it over to V to talk about what she has going on, and we're going to talk about a big announcement once Carla Hall gets on about the establishment, Jill, of a black-owned grocery store. We talked about this yesterday, and because this is a show about solutions and action, and I'm really speaking to Paul Wilson when he was like, I'm trying to see where this conversation is going. One of the things that we're doing on this show is that we don't talk bullshit. Once we go on these rants and carry on after the show, we write down, we email, and we follow up. And we are going to establish an all black owned grocery store where all the products will be black owned. And the owner is Gigi's of Gigi's Musical Cafe. And her daughter Simone is going to work with me and working with myblackpantry.com to get all black owned products in the store. So I'm going to follow up with that when Carla Hall gets on. So I'm going to let V.
And V has a major announcement too.
He has a lot of announcements. So we're going to let V take over for now. And then we're going to segue with Carla Hall at 10:30. Okay, V.
Hey, y'all. One, that was a good debate. Not often that I'm able to do that. For those who don't know me, I'm Valencia Gunter, or V. And I do a plethora of things, from advocacy to activism to shutting down highways to changing legislation. I know in the last few weeks, we have seen the uprisings. I know a lot of people have been questioning it. Some people disagree with the way it's going and this, that, and the third. And my whole spiel around it, and some people may disagree, I'm just happy somebody out there doing something, right? It's too often that we sit around and we think that just a hashtag is going to change something. Like, this takes for people to get extremely active, get out in the street, bring a lot of awareness, for us to even get the attention of decision makers, for us to go to the table. A lot of people don't understand that. So what's next? What's next, right? What a lot of people probably didn't see, it was always demands attached to the protests. Mm-hmm. Always, right? For many years, even when y'all saw Trayvon Martin, right, which to me sparked this new version of movement, especially the Black Lives Matter movement. Mm-hmm. Trayvon Martin, Mike Browns, and things like that, which was 9 years ago. Mm-hmm. These situations actually were the spark of a new conversation. And people are like, oh, this is some of the demands are unrealistic, and I I beg to differ, because 9 years ago when we asked that every officer should have on a body cam, people was like, that's crazy. They're never going to do that. And now every officer has a body cam. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, it can't happen. And so, like, I have been just pushing people to think about how we can dream and reimagine what America looks like without violence. And that's from state, that's from community, that's from whatever. So some next steps for Miami specifically and Florida specifically. One, the budget it's budget season. For those who don't know, and I know people are not involved in the everyday politics or whatever, but I am.
Please explain what budget means.
So budget season is like the 2-3 months before the mayor announces the set budget for the next fiscal year. And this is the time where people go back and forth to commissioners and to the mayor, and they make suggestions and or demands on what they want our tax dollars to be used for in our county or your city or your town or whatever you live in. So in Miami-Dade County, we have an $8.8 billion budget. $8.8 billion, not million, $billion budget. And our mayor and our county commissioners actually have to sit down and negotiate what this $8.8 billion would be used for. Now, the thing is, people be like, well, we can use it for this, we can use it for that. It's, you know why it never goes to the things that you want it to be a part of? Is because you never take a minute and focus in and be a part of the negotiation process. That's budget season. So right now, like every week almost, they're having these subcommittee meetings, discussing things, figuring out what this money is going to go and how it's going to be put into these buckets. It is very important for you to participate right now. Right now. I think the budget comes out in September. So from now until September, you need to be extremely active and not always having to attend the meetings. I mean, I attend the meetings, but I have time to do that. And I understand people have to work and not always have the capacity to do so. So, but you can send an email to the county. You can register and just say that you're in favor or against something. You could do those type of things. I usually post a link for people to participate because everything is being done virtually.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is there, like you're doing the meetings, is there a way that you could provide, okay, on Monday, these are the things that were discussed, and just, a short paragraph, and, this is what it would mean for your community, this is what it means in the big picture, and if you have an opinion on this, please register it at, or share it with me and I'll do it.
I think that would be, it would be a great idea, and it's something that's needed. But honestly, I don't always have the capacity to do it. I wish I could get better. I've been trying to do better with like posting that the things are coming up and that you could participate. Right. But like trying to flush through these agendas and everything, and then the fact that although I live in Miami, I do this across 5 counties. So is a whole lot.
First of all, you need your own team, but but that does bring up a point. Does anybody do that? Is there any way to get that resource? Because so many times, people are not. I find from my space that people are not engaged because they just don't know. And just like you said, you're in it and you don't have the time to be able to cover all of that. And I've always wanted to figure out a way, like, how do we get the information to people who don't have the time and just need it broken down into, these are the key points of this legislation, what it would mean for you, where this budget will be spent. If you, chime in here, you know what I'm saying? Because it is so complex. Yesterday or the day before, right? I shared that when I got furloughed in March, I went, everybody, first thing, apply for food stamps and apply for unemployment, right? That process is so horrifying.
Oh, yeah.
It is so demeaning. It's like it's like you're trying to apply to be a resident or something. So much of it is unnecessary, has nothing to do. That is once you stop the runaround.
Yep.
Once you finally get to somebody. And so, being in, like, it would have helped, but I wasn't desperate. Do you know what I'm saying? I would not be out. So, but in the whole process, I'm thinking, about somebody who, if this doesn't come through, they out.
Yeah.
They got that on their mind. Plus, they got to deal with the drama and just the disrespect
Right.
that they treat you with when you call.
That's right.
And I was like, you know what? Somebody needs it more than me. I'm not even going to deal with that. But just the weight and the exhaustion of that for that first 6 or 7 days I was doing that, just changed the whole game for me.
Right.
Because the people who need the help the most are not getting it, and they get a nasty attitude with it.
That's right.
So where somehow or another we got to figure out how we can disseminate this information.
Yeah, it's a lot of organizations that try, like Catalyst Miami, Community Justice Project. They usually try to post things on their social media, but the stuff comes a mile a minute. Like every day I get on a 10:30 call. Every day. Like as soon as I jump off here, I gotta get on a call to talk about what's moving. And that's our way to try to keep up with it all, but it's happening so rapidly. And it's happening when we sleep, when we up, like everything. And while we're trying to troubleshoot so many different things. But I would tell you all this. When we all have the same message and we all have the same goal, they listen, right? I know the conversation around defunding police is controversial, right? In full transparency, I'm in full support of divestment and investment, right? And maybe that's the terminology that needs to be used instead of defund. Yeah,
exactly. It's all in the verbiage.
So exactly, and one of the things that I always think about is the fact that we've given law enforcement all of these resources to do jobs that they shouldn't be doing. Like if we're having a mental health crisis, the police is not the people who should come to do that. Mental health professionals should be the ones to come to do that, and they get millions of dollars to do something that they're not trained to do, right? So that's a piece of it, right? And people can reimagine what this looks like. We have countries, we even have cities in America that literally have reimagined and divested and invested, right? And then also people don't need to be nervous. Like this doesn't mean that tomorrow it won't be no police. And then also divestment doesn't mean that it would be no law enforcement at all. So like, how can we reimagine public safety? How can we retrain everybody? How can we make sure that things are in place, that people are not being harmed by over-militarized law enforcement, that wasn't your job to do in the first place. And I know people always look at me and try to make me compare police violence to community gun violence or whatever. And I mean, Starrex and Jill, y'all know I've been on both sides of this. If anybody has. And at the end of the day, I always tell people that I think it's interesting that we always compare police to gangs.
So
are they one and the same?
V, we're gonna get you back on.
Me off already?
But not kick you off. I love this conversation is amazing. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna patch in Carla Hall, V, and then we're gonna bring you back on right after, if that's okay.
She's got a 10:30 too.
Yeah.
Oh no. We're gonna bring V back on for the show
Right, I'm saying V's going
like
to
another day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I thought you meant after Carla.
Cool. Because I do want to dig in about the divest invest conversation. I think it needs to be had, and I feel as if this platform would be great for us to do so.
Let's check your schedule for tomorrow. I mean, for Friday.
Okay.
Well,
that's Juneteenth. Hey.
Yeah, that's gonna be a great show.
Right. That's perfect time to talk. Yeah.
All right, y'all. Love y'all too.
Talk to you later.
Right.
Bye, babe. Right. Hey, Carla Hall.
Hi. I can't really hear you.
Really?
What? Can you hear us now? Oh, let me text her. Hold on.
Okay, so I will go over to the comments because I just feel I hate that. Like it's like people talking to you and you ignore them.
Oh no.
Not you. I'm not talking to you.
Okay.
I'm saying in general.
Okay. We're gonna get to it. Go ahead and write it down, Jill. Hey, Miss Hall, how are you?
I'm great. How you all doing?
Wonderful. Miss Hall, I'm going to do a quick intro so everyone knows exactly who you are, if that's okay with you. All right. All right, guys.
I was gonna say, like, we don't know who Carla Hall is. Hello.
For people who maybe not foodies.
So where are you off to, my dear?
We are on our way to New York and to clean out my apartment because I've been in DC all this time.
Wow. So you're moving to DC?
Well, that's where I've been living. I just had an apartment up there for during the show. So when I'm filming and everything.
Gotcha.
Okay, Joe. 1 second. Here we go.
It's my upside down apple cake.
He's the fun-loving, Emmy Award-winning co-host of The Chew. For 6 seasons, celebrity chef Carla Hall has been spreading her down-home message of cooking with love.
I think you have to build flavors. I think that's the most important thing. That's my philosophy. And of course, that special ingredient, love.
Raised in Nashville, Tennessee, Carla spent her mid-20s as a model on the runways of Paris, Milan, and London. There, Carla fell in love with European food culture, especially French cuisine. Soon, Carla gave up modeling to pursue her new passion. She graduated from French Culinary School and began working in restaurants in Washington, D.C. By 2008, Carla had built a successful career and was serving as the executive chef of the State Plaza Hotel. That year, the 44-year-old got her big break as a contestant on Bravo's hit show, Top Chef. Carla instantly won over fans with her country charm and snappy catchphrase.
Hootie! It's a 2-part call. So my girls really like, Hootie!
The show also gave viewers a taste of Carla's unique blend of French and Southern cuisine.
That's how they do it down south.
Despite finishing third, Top Chef catapulted Carla onto the national stage. In 2011, she was named co-host of The Chew, and over the next 5 years, she published 2 cookbooks and launched her wildly popular Brooklyn restaurant, Carla Hall's Southern Kitchen.
Order up! So Carla Hall Southern Kitchen is basically a hot chicken place. This is our chicken.
Today, Carla is opening up her home to show us what she really cooks for dinner.
This is my New York apartment. When I'm here, I'm...
All right, guys.
I wanted to see the apartment that she's going to clean out.
So this is who we have on, just so folks can know who we're going to be chatting with. And she is definitely my adopted auntie. She has just been an incredible inspiration to me personally and professionally. And I wanted to share with you guys her cookbook that is available in stores right now. You can get it online, and we're going to talk about some recipes in there that I've made. And she actually saved me from a big disaster with her quick bean recipe, because I was making food for a large amount of people and literally just looking in her book to try to find a recipe, and saw she was literally in the same position. And I had a whole cases of red beans because of the COVID-19 free food giveaways, and I was able to boil those beans and make incredible beans. So thank you so much, Ms. Hall, for that. So Jill, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'll turn it over to Jill because Jill is definitely someone that's going to be sort of navigating this conversation. So.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. Welcome.
Hi, good morning. Hi, Jill.
How are you, my dear? And I want to say that though I'm much more familiar with you prior to The Chew, than on. But how was that? How has this journey from being a model? I don't know if you're familiar with Soul Artist Management, but that is my best friend in the world. His agency is in New York, and he's done quite well by all of us. Let's just say that. And,
I don't know them, but yeah.
Yeah, but and into segueing into food, are you finding yourself your fullness now after that, modeling, syndication, and now what's next?
Wow, that's a big question. I think that my whole thing was I wanted to be happy, not rich. So I was always chasing the joy and finding my place in whatever I did. And sorry for the bumps. I'm on the road, obviously, with my seatbelt on. So modeling was just a bridge between what I knew I didn't want to do, which was accounting, and what I eventually wanted to do. And I didn't know what that was. So as I matriculate through all of these different things, it seems like I'm reinventing myself, but actually what I'm doing is chasing that place to feel at home. And I think with my latest cookbook, Carla Hall Soul Food, it was such a personal journey to find that, and to find myself in food and to accept myself through food. So to accept, that I'm from the South and I don't have to apologize for the foods that I love and want to make, but I also want to show a different side of that food. And then Chew was also another kind of journey, being on television and having those two journeys coincide. So on the Chew, it was like, wait a minute, I know I'm the only Black person here and I'm learning about Italian food, I'm learning about Greek food, but you all should also learn about my food and not just the stereotypes of my food. And that's when I really wanted to show the everyday dishes in my cookbook.
Was that difficult to have your dishes be respected and shown live, as it were, the other dishes?
I think a lot of Black people don't one, be proud of our history, then that's a very easy conversation to have. I had to go through that journey, and I was going through it in a very public way. So once I got to the place of like, wait a minute, I want to show the history of macaroni and cheese. And there were times when I faced the stereotypes of wanting to show that food and people not understanding why I wanted to get to the truth of this food, because it wasn't even just for myself. It was for people who look like us. It's like, and you realize when you have a lot of Black people who will say, well, I don't eat soul food, I don't eat pork, or I don't eat this. And it's not even about the pork. They have bought into the stereotypes. Like, I don't eat watermelon. But watermelon has a lot of nutrients. It came from Africa. And for us to reclaim it and say, I proudly eat watermelon, not only for the hydration, but also the nutrients, right? So I think it's about reclaiming our history and understanding and not taking somebody else's word for our history.
Right. And have to deliver it. I always kind of felt like, it must be really interesting to be in her space, to want to just be herself, completely present, and not have to present soul food with a girl. Let me tell you about this cornbread.
Right.
Yeah. And soul food is American tradition more than anything, and the legacy of that. So many people could learn so much from that. And I wonder why. I mean, I know in my space, I've been a radio personality for 20 or so years. You still have to kind of validate why my history is important.
Right.
A lot of times, but with a smile.
I mean, it's true. And we have to undo so many tapes, that we've heard about ourselves. And there's so many people who have bought into that. And we a lot of times don't know history beyond what we've been told.
Right.
And I think it is. And there's so many Black chefs who say, I don't want to do soul food. I don't want to be pigeonholed.
Right.
But when I did this book, I'm like, I unapologetically want to do soul food and show both sides, because every culture has celebration dishes and everyday dishes. And why is it that soul food got stuck with just celebration dishes? Because the first thing that not only Black people will say, but white people will say, oh, it's so fattening, hypertension and all of this. That is one side of it. Italian people do not eat meatballs and spaghetti every day. Right. They don't eat ossobuco every day.
Right.
Right?
Oxtail by
so why is it
right?
So why is it that our food gets stuck in that moniker that it doesn't have a healthy side? And like watermelon and greens and all of the grains and all of the black eyed peas and all of these other peas and everything, it's an agrarian cuisine. It is not really about all the meat.
And do you find that among the chefdoms that that we African Americans or those from the diaspora have a difficulty presenting in a national space like that things other than or hybrids of or mixtures of soul food, African inspired, Indian inspired, Thai? Because I think I'm a foodie. And I find similarity in so many different nationalities and so many different foods that, and it seems that we are sometimes the only ones that make that connection, right? Have you experimented, I should say, with like soul food and Asian mashups? Because there's so many, particularly the Asian and Thai. A lot of Black people or people who are familiar with Black cuisine have an affinity for those dishes. And, right. Like, I remember the restaurant in New York that did the soul rolls. It was like greens and fried chicken. I can't remember the name of the restaurant right now. But you know what I'm saying? But funky things like that.
I can't remember it either.
Right? You know what I'm talking about. It'll come to us both later.
But I think
fusions,
But I think with their lives, fusion. But the spice root, right? When you look at the spice root, and look at where the spices came from, it is very natural for us to fall into these other cuisines. And so I think chefs are doing it. And when people think soul food with Chinese or Asian ingredients, I mean, think about the Caribbean and think about who was there and what foods came through the spice route. And so it makes so much sense. And but it's also about us learning our culture, and so that we can share this. And so people don't say, "Oh, I can't believe you put curry in whatever, blah 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 blah." Curry makes so much sense in the Caribbean, right? So I think it's about us learning our history and why we should be proud. I run into so many Black chefs who have been listening to the tapes. Eduardo Jordan, went through this. A lot of times as chefs, we will want to do the fine dining so that we can be taken seriously, so that we don't do our food. And then once we are taken seriously, then we will move to a version or our own version of soul food. But we're not the only ones who do that. Other cultures do it too, because we take for granted what we've been given and what we know, and we don't place value on it. And I think we have to look to some of these chefs who are now placing value on our cuisine. So, and that's been a movement quite some time. J.J. Johnson, Marcus Sanderson.
I was going to say, because, Red Rooster is about to open in Miami. Or it might, no, it's not open yet. I think they were going to open right before COVID became a thing.
It opens on Friday, actually.
It opens this Friday?
They're doing a Juneteenth opening, and Marcus is actually going to be here for it.
Oh, well, that's good. Thank you for telling me in advance. That's amazing.
Yeah, and there's so many women as well. There's so many women chefs who are doing the same things. So it's a really good time right now. To lift our voices, appreciate our history.
I kind of lost her.
No, she's there. She's driving, guys. I'm sorry. She's on the
okay, so maybe she's
driving. Did I leave?
Hey, so Jill, I'm gonna just chime in really quickly. Again, for those people who are just logging on, we have Chef Carla Hall here.
Is there a delay?
Yeah, there's a delay. But you're fine.
Okay.
We have Chef Carla Hall here, guys. This is her cookbook. It is available in all major bookstores as well as online. I've cooked so many recipes out of it. Miss Hall was our host for the Miami Gardens Food and Wine Foodie Bus Tour with Trick Daddy, which was incredible. And
talk about a mashup.
Oh my God, that was incredible. I just want to show you guys the Johnny Cakes, right? Because Johnny Cakes is a Bahamian dish, but it's also a Black American dish as well. And we make ours a little different. And so Carla did a really great job with that recipe. I'm just sharing you guys really quick my favorite
And
recipe.
with boiled fish and grits from the Bahamas, that is is a Johnny cake as well. But I didn't know where it came from until I went to the Bahamas.
Right.
Yeah.
And this was her recipe for flaky buttermilk biscuits. Biscuits, after talking to Miss Hall, I used to have the hardest time making biscuits.
I still do.
No, and then listen, the way she broke it down. And so, Miss Hall, I wanted you to share with folks your cooking biscuits with strangers, and also how you were able to make biscuits a thing that's not to be feared anymore. So, if you can kind of talk about that.
So I started making biscuits with just random people on the street. And then I started making them also with my friend Chadwick Boyd. And we would have these biscuit time sessions at Williams-Sonoma and other things. One, to build community and to show people that it's one thing to break bread together. It's another thing to make bread together, and to show people through community how they can make biscuits and breaking it down and make them with their families and build communities through cooking. So that really is what it was about. And even though my recipe hasn't changed in the last, 20 years, the techniques have changed because I want people to understand how to make them. And we're losing these skills.
Yeah.
And so once we get back into the kitchen, it is, and I think that's what's especially wonderful about this sheltering in place time that we've been at home for 2 months. People have gotten back to somewhat of a slower lifestyle, and to cooking and to being with family. And I don't know about y'all, but I've been dating my house. I've been dating my husband. I've been dating my neighborhood. In all these
I am in love with this time. And it's funny, I told Star X yesterday, you still can't find bleach and flour
right.
at the grocery store. Right. None of that. And I was, part of me was like, what is it with the flour? But then, I was talking with a woman and I was like, you can make anything out of flour. I was like, you know what? That is very true. I still cannot make a biscuit. But I have to get the tea on your biscuits.
Yeah, and it's
no, I was gonna say, so it was my grandfather. Yeah, my family's from Griffin, Georgia, and my grandfather makes the best Brunswick stew you'll ever have. And it was funny because I was in the kitchen making it, but initially you make it with deer meat, and in Georgia rather. And so they would hunt, they would bring the deer back, and they would create this stew. So I tried my hand at it, and Carla, it turned out really good, but it didn't turn out like his, because I don't think he uses some of the ingredients that were in here. This is a lot more healthy, right? But I think my grandfather made his very unhealthy. And so what I loved about the book, guys, and if the book, what it did for me was just what Carla explained. The demonization of Black food and Black food pathways is something that we self-perpetuate and we need to stop, right? And the cool thing about stopping that is when you read her book, you see that you look at our leafy greens like collard greens and okra. Well, that's not a leafy green, but it's a green. Okra and cabbage and turnip greens and string beans. And you look at our legumes and black eyed peas and lima beans. And you do such a great job at almost making every dish that's in here a possible vegan plate if you just omit the meat. And it turns out just as good. So I wanted you to kind of talk about just a little bit about how the inspiration came about to develop the book, and the recipes. They look so purpose. Everything in the book is so purpose. It's not like you just threw some things in here. It talks about your experiences. It talks about the things that you've experienced, not only as a professional, but in your personal life as well. And so it's more of of almost like a biography through food, to be honest with you. So I wanted you to kind of just talk about that so folks can know what to expect once they get the book.
I mean, well, doing that book was a journey for me. It was a journey in acknowledging our food and falling in love with soul food again. Because, like I said, I was running to French food. I decided to do this book by visiting various farms and focusing on certain chefs that you'll see throughout the book, and really diving into why this is our food. So one of the things that I did on this road trip, and I went to 5 different states. I was in Georgia, Tennessee, which is where I'm from. I was in Mississippi, and I'm gonna lose all the places in my head. But so one of the things that I was meeting farmers, and I didn't have a plan other than to go and to meet these people. And I would take food and actually create. And we created without a plan in a way, but it was just the food inspiring me versus going into this with certain ideas of what I wanted to make. It was very organic. And I had to say, initially when I started this book and when I pitched it, the answer was like, no, you shouldn't do this Black book. But anytime you do, my lesson was anytime that you do something that you are attached to emotionally, it is going to change not only the project, it will change yourself, and it will change others who are reading it. So, and I talk about these emancipation foods, these red dishes, and I really wanted to show Black people that we should stop demonizing our food. So that's why I broke it down to celebration dishes and everyday dishes. I'm not trying to mess up my macaroni and cheese. I'm not trying to tell you to not do oxtails. I'm trying to tell you, you don't need them every day or, every other day. Mm-hmm. There are some other things that you should be looking at. You should know about sorghum and millet and fonio. You should know about these other grains.
Mm-hmm. That is a part of our culture as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I wanted to ask you while we're there with the substitutions, because you said earlier we've heard it. I'm sorry, Toni Morrison. Let me come back over here. She's behind me. That our food is too fatty, it's too sugary, this, that, and the other. And just with a family carrying a more baggage than we need. My mother, my grandmother, we all, are in that process. I mean, before I developed the ailments that I know are coming because I've seen them come. I've just been experiencing with a lot of different things. One of the things that the most effective I found to date has been the Pritikin diet. However, it's extremely expensive and restrictive, right? And their eat it basically is nothing with a TOL or OSE or US, so fructose, any of those, erythritol, all of those sweetener, everything, all of those supplements for sugar, right? So I wanted to ask you, how do you feel about that in terms of these, chemical derivatives like Swerve? Is one of the big ones now. Brown sugar, confectioner, they do all of those, but it is a chemically created thing. Where do you fall on, the benefits of the calorie reduction or the possible side effects of chemicals replacing, sugar, flour, honey, etc.?
For me, I try to go as natural as possible. I don't know about that diet, but anytime that you're replacing fresh and real with something fabricated, you should think twice.
Calorie reduction,
right? I mean, it's all about whole foods, right?
Right. Sugar. What are you doing?
The other thing is, if I am going to eat something with sugar, I make it an event, but we don't have to put sugar in everything.
Yeah.
Sometimes when I go into our restaurants and they have this bug juice, this really sweet juice, I'm like, okay, it's okay if you have that, but can I have an option, another option?
Right.
You know, can I choose? So yeah, this is Matthew is driving me to a place where I can stop and do my recess. But Matthew, we're going to be going for another 10 minutes.
What,
So.
Ms. Hall, I wanted to ask a question in reference to some of your favorite Black chefs that are out there that are up and coming, and places that I've gone to that I really want people to also visit. I know that Chef Ed Jordan got a lot of press over at June Baby, and I think that he definitely is a student of your philosophy in reference to cultural and ethnic food pathways, specifically in the African diaspora, and how it's interpreted within his entrees, right? But I wanted you to also talk about Chef Bailey over at the Gray and Savannah as well. So
Mashama.
So when you look at Chef Gray and Chef Jordan and Chef JJ over in New York, and all of these chefs that are millennials, right? And millennials, we're aging as well. All the 80s babies are staring 40 down the barrel. So we're no longer going to be considered to be young per se, but these in the chef world, that's young, right? And your early 30s and mid 30s. And so I wanted to know from you, what's your outlook on the industry, given the fact that these young chefs are definitely doing some things that are groundbreaking and not leaving their culture. And I think that's an example of what you shared.
Yeah, this is a really important time. Last week, there were 10 chefs, there were 5 women, and I'll give you all the names. And for some reason, my menopause brain will not allow me to spit all the names out. But Mashama and Naisha and Nina Compton and JJ was on the call. There was a call about the Black chefs, like 10 of us, and talking about the struggles that we have had. We see the movement, but there's still a separation. There's still a lack of Black chefs who are recognized and who are still going through so much in their kitchens to overcome. Every one of us had stories where we felt like we had to check ourselves, our Black selves at the door in order to matriculate and do well at work. Yep. And I don't think people realize that. How hard it is, and where you don't see your culture reflected in the food at the restaurants until you become an executive chef, and then you get to make those choices. But how few Black executive chefs there are. Yeah. So it's tough, and it was a really painful conversation, because when you go to work and you have to stuff these emotions down in order to just do your job. And so I was giving an example of, when I come in as a woman and I'm being called the angry Black woman, well, or if something comes up that happens to me and then somebody's going to share, oh my God, I can't believe somebody outside of our culture, oh my God, this thing happens to me. And you're looking at them and you're like, this has happened to me 100 times, 200 times. It has happened to you one time. And what someone has to go through to be in this space, because a lot of our restaurants are on the other side of the tracks. And I also want to hold people responsible in our community, because they want to go somewhere nice, right? Nice. And where they're not coming to our places and they're going to some other place with the drinks and the nice restaurants, right? But you have to patronize us, because without patronizing us, we can't get to that next level as a whole, like many of us. And so all of these young Black chefs that are coming up and doing amazing things, we have to support them. I mean, we really have to make it a point to support them and seek them out. One great app is called Okra, Eat Okra, where you can find Black restaurants. But yeah, just like seek them out. I think this is a good time where we will learn about many more, and hopefully many more will come through the ranks.
On yesterday's show, we were talking about the need for Black-owned grocers. We were talking about the need to connect Black farmers to restaurants, and the reality of now connecting Black restaurants to Black-owned products. And so we're actually working on a site by the name of myblackpantry.com, where it'll be a one-stop shop for all Black-owned seasonings and products and sauces and things of that nature. Why do you think or feel that Black-owned restaurants are not connecting with Black-owned seasoning makers and oil makers to start more of a cyclical economic sort of relationship, where our Black-owned restaurants tend to continue to buy brands that traditionally do not support or even sponsor food icons like yourself? I would love to see like a Crystal's hot sauce have a contract with Chef Carla Hall, or McCormick's lemon pepper, or Laurie's seasoning salt. You know, these brands that we're married to, they do absolutely nothing to support or enhance the Black food ecosystem. So I wanted to know from you, where do you think the change starts, and how do you think we begin the process of breaking away from these brands, or at least demanding more from them, or double downing on supporting our own seasoning and sauce makers?
It's so funny that you mention Lowry's and the lemon black pepper. When I did my cookbook, I approached McCormick, because it would have been 100 years that they were in business. I think it was 100 years. And I was like, what better place to partner, right? But it didn't happen. So you know what I did? I said, okay, I'm going to give the recipes in my book so we can take our power back and make our own seasonings with less salt, right? So you know, because the sodium and the sugar in our community. But I think that when you are in a restaurant and you are ordering, the reason that people are going to these brands is because when you order in the big box stores, or for every invoice, there's a cost to that, right? So there's a cost to having one invoice versus 10 invoices. That's the business side of things. You know, if you're picking and choosing the efficiencies, and I'm not saying it can't be done, but I'm saying that the easiest way to do is to go to one place, order all of your food, have one invoice, and then you pay that, because you're not going to pay for it necessarily in the front end, but you will pay on the back end in accounting and other places. So that's the real side of trying to figure out how to support these businesses. But I think the idea of having a grocery store or one of those companies with Black owned products where it's one-stop shopping, that is what will really help restaurants, right? You're pulling them all together so they can have that one invoice, because you're now talking about all the accounting and all of that. When you have separate invoices, that's real.
That is a dope idea, because that is usually the number one reason why we fail.
The other thing, guys, and I'm going to get to the question, because I know we're winding down. In Carla Hall's book, she does something that's really cool, and she creates celebration menus. And I want to show you guys that she has Juneteenth there. And so Juneteenth is on Friday. So if you get the book, you can definitely create these menus. She has Sunday supper, she has game day, Thanksgiving, holiday dinner, summer cookout. It takes away Easter, New Year's, spring brunch. And so the Juneteenth menu is we have a watermelon juice, tomato, cucumber, and dill salad, succotash salad with corn and lima beans, which is delicious. If you've never had a succotash made properly, and it's a really interesting history behind that, because it's a Native American, Black American connection there. Red cabbage and beet slaw with horseradish, piri-piri.
Well, that sounds good.
Watermelon salad with radishes. I'm not a fan of radishes, so I'm interested to see how that comes out, Chef.
Darius Cooks does a great radish hash, replacing potato radishes. Yeah.
And we have flaky buttermilk biscuits and strawberry cake. I looked at the recipe for the strawberry cake, and it looks amazing. And guys, just so you know as well, one of the things she does, and you guys have to try sweet tea soda. That thing is delicious. That thing
What?
is delicious.
No, that sounds
No,
with
when I made
tea and sparkling water.
no,
Yes.
it's
So
well,
you make a simple syrup with the tea and the lemon juice, and then you add sparkling water. And the idea is that the sparkling water cuts down the feeling of the sweetness. And it really is delicious. Stark, thank you.
I love that you said that. I keep ginger simple syrup and elderflower simple syrup.
Oh my God. What? Yes. Yes. High five. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
It's the best with sparkling soda, with sparkling water, and then you do the different flavors, kills all, you know what I'm saying? And you use so much less than if you drink a soda. Yeah,
that's right.
So I have we have 5 more minutes left, guys, and I just wanted to touch on the last portions of the book that she talked about, and that's so important. And now that you said McCormick wasn't willing to do that, we're going to make sure that we double down on the opening of a black market that we're doing here, right in South Florida in Sunrise, an all black market. But I love the fact that you have poultry seasoning. You have, oh my God, I'm sorry, I forgot about this. I cooked this on 2 weeks ago. This was the cracked shrimp recipe. Carla,
dude,
listen, that shrimp, Jill, I gotta make it for Jill. I'm gonna make it for Jill and bring it over. It's restaurant quality, right? Once you make it,
I'm ordering the book on Amazon right now.
Yes!
You guys,
$20 on Amazon. Go now. Do it with me.
The book was incredible. So, Ms. Hall, we're gonna let you close it out with just a little brief conversation on that, right? Like we're moving from this post George Floyd era of all of this racial unrest that's been here, and we've experienced it all along. And so it's interesting to see white America literally buy out the bookshelves of a lot of race conscious books that explains how racism affects us and how it empirically affects the nation. And it is refreshing to see that non-blacks are interested in trying to at least understand, right? And so the conversation has sort of
or not lose money. I digress.
Well, no, I'm referencing the actual protesters in the streets, right? They're buying out the books, right? So the young people, and I do think that that's a good thing. And so when it comes to that, the conversation for us and myself as well and Jill has been mainly economics, right? We really want okay, guys, I'm sorry. So you can buy, I'm sorry, Ms. Hall, people are asking where can they buy the book? I'm sorry.
Amazon, I just showed them. I just bought one on Amazon.
You can go to Amazon, but also if there are small bookstores that have it, support them. I know like Jubilee, Tony Tipton Martin's book, she doesn't have it on Amazon, but she has it at smaller stores because I know. I think Amazon for mine, but Jubilee or some other good ones.
Unfortunately, we don't have any small bookstores.
We have one.
I know.
We have one in Palm Beach. And I believe we have one in Fort Lauderdale as well. I'll share that with you guys.
Okay, but I don't want to put y'all through that drama. Just go ahead. Just get the book. It'll be at your house before you drive to Palm Beach to get it, and you know it.
So Ms. Hall, with that, the question was, now that we're transitioning into a conversation about economics, so many Black families are financially insecure, and we are attempting to really move into a space where our economics are at the forefront of this conversation of racial justice and at the forefront of the conversation of making sure and ensuring that there is equitable distribution of wealth in the nation. Where do you think food has a place in that conversation? And what would you say are some solutions to make that more of a robust conversation and solution driven?
That's an easy question. Gosh, there's so many things. I think supporting our restaurants, I think supporting small independent stores, it may be less convenient, but find out where they are. There's an app called Eat Okra And you can go on Eat Okra and find out, like, as I'm traveling, I usually go on Eat Okra to see where these restaurants are so I can support them. I think find out online now that everybody's doing all these lists to see where certain businesses are. And I hope this is not just a trend where people like, oh, it's so cool to buy Black right now, and then it just falls off, because it really is about supporting not only food stores, wine stores, you know what I mean? Like, the businesses are out there, and when people ask me where are they, I can tell you where they are. I can tell you what to do, but the act of actually finding them is part of your homework, because you are invested in doing the real work.
Right.
Erica Knowles from Collective Drift, who she does events for women who travel. It's incredible, and she does local stuff. She just did a dinner party for us at a Wash, which is our Ethiopia. You been to a Wash? She said Mahogany Books is here in
Mahogany Books,
and you can get Carla's book here.
Oh,
so
great! Thank you.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah, thank you, Erica, for that.
Well, I want to thank Ms. Hall. I know she has a hard stop and she's on the road and she needs to head out. And so we are looking forward to you guys ordering the book. And we're also looking forward to having Ms. Hall back very, very soon. Hopefully, as she continues to do her shows and all of the wonderful things she's doing, we're carrying Black America on her shoulders, because there's not many of you in food at all. I mean, who would you say before you leave? Who would you say is representative, aside from yourself, that you would say on a name that you can name that folks will know like yours, a household name, not like how we just talked about Ed Jordan, you know.
Marcus Samuelson. You know Marcus Samuelson. You know, I'm trying to think. I guess there are a lot of people who are on Top Chef, Nina Compton. I'm thinking, because if they are looking at these shows, they do know these Black chefs. Gregory Goddard.
What do you think? What do you think is going to take, though? That's the very last question. I'm so sorry, because that's so important. What do you think is going to take to create another Carla Hall and another Marcus Samuelson? Because it's so many non-Black food personalities, and we just don't know what the problem is. What do you think the problem is, and what is it going to take? That's the last question. I
think it's going to take holding these networks to the fire and giving people. The reason you know me is because I was on television. I've had to reinvent myself, but even and you can't just walk on television. You have to have somebody give you a shot. We don't own the networks, right? So there's all of that. And it's holding these executives to the fire. And it's not just being the talent. You need Black producers. You need Black showrunners. It's not, you know what I'm saying? So when people think, oh, you know, hire Carla Hall, I don't want somebody to just hire me and it be short term. I don't want for a publisher to say, oh, we're going to have your book. I want a Black editor. I want somebody in a place of power who looks like me to make decisions. That's what we want. We don't want short-term fixes, because those will change. And when we're not the flavor of the month, then it'll go back to the same way that it was before.
Yeah, and I will offer you all that you can you see her, my poster of Toni Morrison from her. Yeah.
Yes.
From her movie Pieces I Am. Toni Morrison was a book editor, and she speaks in this film, you know, really from a very strong place about why, just answering your question, Starix, exactly why. If she had not been in the room, Angela Davis would have never been an author. So, and you know, and it expounds from that. So it is important, because if we're not there, and it was somebody who saw her, to her point, it was somebody who saw her talent that brought her in and allowed her to, you know, to open up that space, because they needed the diversity, but they didn't know how to go get it. She was blessed to find somebody who understand and trusted her in that space. So to
Yeah.
Carla, and that really is, I mean, you know, and she started that was in the 70s. We're still in the same spot in 2020. Carla Hall, Soul Food. Carla, thank you so much for sharing some time with us.
Thank you.
I
Thank
look
you.
forward to meeting you next time you're in Miami.
Likewise. Thank you for getting me down the road.
Okay. All right.
Be safe.
All right. Bye.
Yes. Bye-bye. Take care. I love her.
That was awesome.
Oh my God, we could talk to her forever. I could talk to her
No,
forever.
she's so insightful. And you know what's really crazy, Jill? I just never met a celebrity that was so warm and genuine. I mean, you just forgot. You just forgot that she was she allowed us to drive her around to all of the spots in Miami that we love. We took her to Sister Sarah's Crab House. We took her to Sunday's Eatery. We took her to Cote Gourmet. Literally.
I can't get you to take me to Gigi's for a damn burger. We'll have to.
Oh, here we go with you.
I was at home eating ramen noodles, y'all, and he was just eating 17 meals. And I'm on his live like, yo, why didn't you call me? I'm coming. I'm on my way.
Oh man. So guys, those of you who are watching the show, this is the Fresh Squeeze with Jill Tracy and the Hungry Black Man. You can find me at thehungryblackman.com and follow us both on our social. Turn your phone off, Jill, or whatever you got going on, because I can hear myself talk.
No, I don't. That's not me.
Oh, okay.
The Jill Tracy Show on Instagram. You were about to go there, so I beat you to it.
So we are going to definitely follow up with Miss Hall maybe a couple months down the road. She has something cooking up, and you can be on the lookout for her because she's definitely going to be on a show very soon. She's on the Food Network, so you can catch her on there, and there's a bunch of digital platforms that she's on as well. We're going to end the conversation, guys, with the conversation on this Friday, which is Juneteenth. Juneteenth is a holiday that is celebrated in the United States and has been celebrated since 1866, being the first day, June 19th, 1865, being the last day that Blacks in this country, or Americans rather in this country, were in chattel slavery. And so there are some shirts that's going around that says Juneteenth free-ish since 1865 because they're acknowledging the 100 years of sharecropping and then the next 75 years of post-Jim Crow and discrimination and segregation, all that other stuff. So that is literally just being over now. But anyway, Marcus Samuelson's restaurant is going to be opening, which is a restaurant by the name of Red Rooster in historic Overtown. The Overtown community is one of the first, if not the first, Black community in South Florida, and also known as the Black Wall Street. Overtown was a very wealthy Black community where the first Black millionaire in this town, Mr. D.A. Dorsey, home is still there. And so if you would love to attend that grand opening, that's happening on Friday. And we're also doing a Juneteenth festival at Dukanoo Restaurant in Wynwood, Miami, where we're going to have some great music, some incredible entrees, and Chef Mark Cameron is going to be creating some dishes along with Chef Kofi, who is a prolific vegan chef right here in South Florida. So we definitely look forward to that. And we really want to celebrate Juneteenth in a meaningful way. So Jill, with that,
so show of hands. Okay, so am I the only person who's still kind of like skeptical about going out? Now, what are the coronavirus? What is your coronavirus protocol for this event?
Yeah, so I mean, people have to be responsible. It's social distancing. It's going to be outside, so you're not forced to be on top of people. If you eat and dine inside, the restaurant has done an incredible job spacing out people. It is definitely a massive restaurant. So it's not this small space and you're outside. So I would definitely come wearing a mask. And I don't think that the group is going to be large enough where it's going to present that type of challenge. The restaurant has definitely put things in place. I myself have been I've been going around with and without the mask. I mean, I take the mask off for reviews at the restaurants because it's only like 10 people in there. And I mean, they don't have corona. So, well, you know what?
I don't know.
I don't know.
We can't have that. We don't know what corona look like and where it is and where it might come from. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I mean,
and the cases are rising. The only reason why I'm hyper sensitive about it because the cases are rising in South Florida. I mean, we're 2,000 last week. We were supposed to be on a downturn, and now Miami Beach have kind of rescinded their stepping down. They're staying in place, and I just the song and dance that we are dying at greater numbers of coronavirus than anybody else. So, and it's not, it's interesting to me how they just throw that out there and say, oh, because, Black people have heart disease and this, that, and the other. Yeah, everybody else does as well. There's so many factors that are involved in why we're dying. And, when somebody needs a ventilator and it's a, Black woman and a white man, who gets it? So that cannot be missed in the fact that more of us are dying, and it's not because we're inherently unhealthy.
No, and I agree, and I don't want coronavirus. I don't think anybody wants that, and I do wear my mask for the most part. And the thing is, you're just risking it, right? Like if you're out, you're risking it. I think that wearing the mask, people have to understand, it doesn't protect you from getting it. It just protects you from giving it. And so the mask, someone sneezes or coughs near you and they have that virus, these are microbials, it's going to go through that cloth mask. It's not, that mask is not protecting you.
It's
so
like a lot of the masks too, the ones that you can wear like all day, it's like t-shirt material. Yeah. Like, no, what is this going to stop?
Nothing.
Yeah, it's deep. So listen, can we, before we leave, can we just say hey to some of the people over here? Because I don't thank you guys for putting it up there, but I still do not have. I'm going to take a screenshot of my screen for you, Star X, so you can see. I don't have.
And she's right. Someone said it protects you from getting it if everyone has it on. That is very true.
Yes,
that is very true. That is very true.
So
N95 mask. Where do you even get that?
But yeah. I mean, yeah, I've been trying to find them. There's inexpensive. Oh yeah, I saw Alexis Sanchez. We saw the piece yesterday that there's an inexpensive steroid that's been effective, but again, I'm sorry, I'm just not with that. I know that if I stay out of certain places and be protected in others, that's my best hope at this point. Yolanda, hey Janae, I know Janae was here. Erica Knowles that I mentioned of Collective Drift. If you all are not familiar and not involved, you can Erica, can you put up your information? You all will know Erica. Janae Tate from being with us yesterday, and it was Alexis Tracy. She was also, there was somebody else up here that I wanted to that had a question for us. Muse. That was Erica too. If you could put the event that Muse 305 has coming up, do you know what it is, Star X?
I don't, but I wanted to get back on your Corona question, and I want to invite Commissioner Ricky Areola from Miami Beach, who's been a outspoken.
Is his last name really Areola?
Yeah. Who's been an outspoken advocate of reopening and definitely reopening Miami Beach. And so I would love to hear his take on it. He's been in talks with several medical professionals and policymakers. And so there is this idea, definitely not of herd immunity, but having some form of balance. I mean, I don't know. There's no cure in sight. There's no, I'm not sure if this thing was created. It was probably created. More than likely it was created, but someone said Muse event, say their name, a vigil and Juneteenth celebration. So it's going to be something about saying the names of all of our people who've been killed and lighting a candle for them.
What do you feel about the country now and corporate entities now saying that they are going to celebrate Juneteenth, honor Juneteenth? Yeah.
I'm a little upset at some of my own people who I've asked several times, several years ago, to honor this holiday, to set the tone. You know, it's very disrespectful for me to see non-Black folks honor a holiday that we honored for over 100 years. And so for us to continuously lose our heritage and our culture and double down on this thing that Black Americans don't have a culture and we don't have a heritage and all, that's just false. It's just that what happens is that it gets hijacked and it gets propagated in the mainstream and it becomes pop culture. So pop culture in many respects is African-American culture. And so when you talk about, you know, cultural dances, cultural songs, cultural anything, we can go back so many years and show that we've been celebrating and interpreting ourselves in a very positive manner, even with the establishment of Memorial Day. I think that these white companies have done what the Brits did with jazz, did what the Brits did with soul, did what the Brits did with rock. It's appropriation, right? So now you take it, and the first thing that they're going to learn to do is monetize it. So giving the day off, believe me, right now, companies, and remember that I'm telling you this, next June, you are going to see the monetization of our holiday in a corporate space. And so it's not something that they're doing to be kind and generous.
Benevolent.
They realize that let's go ahead and give our employees a day off with this. Nike did it. Nike's going to come out with a Juneteenth shoe. And that shoe is going to be sold outside of the window. And I hope that people like Master P are getting ahead of it, because I love the way Master P thinks. He has his own rice brand. He has all these food brands. He has his own noodle brand. He's creating things that he knows that the white corporate world will create and then make billions off of.
How's Bobby Brown Foods coming?
Bobby Brown's Foods?
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't trust that. I mean, I would probably I'll try it. I mean,
you haven't tried any of his stuff?
No, I will try it though.
You know what? I was trying to remember the name of it when Carla was talking about the spices, you know, and Black companies. But yeah, he has a whole lot, you know, a whole spice line.
You know, Janae just said, I'm going to try it. She just said, I hope the corporate celebration and acknowledgement of Juneteenth is not appropriated like they did Pride Month.
Oh my God, yes. Well, we're there
everywhere.
But America doesn't know how to celebrate anything with reverence. It has to have commerce.
No, I mean, and people need to understand that. Like every time you look at something that these people do that may seem benevolent, it is always ominous. It always has this very evil ulterior motive lurking behind it. And so that's exactly what they're doing with Juneteenth. And so I'm excited to see the state. Hopefully, our people will celebrate this year, so we can do the hard work at making that a federal holiday, because it needs to be a federal holiday. I mean, it is.
And how do we want to celebrate? You know, I think too, we have to like really kind of like, how are we going to celebrate Juneteenth? What, you know what I'm saying? What kind of
fireworks, barbecues? That's what we did for the past 100 and odd years.
On 4th of July. Oh, so just.
It was the Black. No, it really was. It was the Black 4th of July, and people have to understand, uniquely in Florida, especially in Rosewood, that community and towns outside of and Overtown, Juneteenth was a big celebration, and it was lost over. You know, you start seeing it wind down in the 70s, and then it just disappeared. You know, but we definitely celebrated it, and so I think that's how. Right? Yeah. Someone said. There will be billion Juneteenth sales.
That's Erica, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah. That's why they did it, you know. So, guys, we got 2 minutes left for the show. Someone said dancing in the streets. It's a very odd thing, though, right? Because I saw Jill, and this got me a little perturbed, because I was like, someone had this thing out, and it was like, it was like Juneteenth memorial, and we're gonna light candles and remember the fallen, and that's not what it is, right? And so I don't think it's a good narrative to compound the suffering of our people currently with this holiday. This holiday is celebratory, and so when you do that, it kind of it takes away from the celebratory nature of the holiday, because you're not going to light candles on the 4th of July. You're not going to have memorials on the 4th of July. And it takes away from the true intent of the holiday And it's important for us to celebrate our holidays in a manner where we do it with our families. So you don't have to necessarily go to a Juneteenth celebration. Juneteenth is something that you should celebrate just like you celebrate any other holiday. And I think that when we start to do that and really, really take pride, like I remember celebrating Kwanzaa and having this woman.
I was just about to say, well, can we talk about Kwanzaa for 2 seconds while
we're
and while we can't seem to give Kwanzaa any near the representation and place in our lives that we do, hell, even Easter. I mean, Kwanzaa just can't seem. Name me, I mean, can anybody name 4 principles of Kwanzaa on
I celebrate it every single year, and
I mean, like anybody 3 of the principles of Kwanzaa. It's 12 days, right? Or 10 days. Wait, is it 7 days? I can't even remember. It's 7 days. Anybody know 3? I mean, it's something, but I'm not, and I'm trying not to be funny about it. Ain't nobody celebrating Kwanzaa. Thank you very much. I mean, it's just real. That first day of Kwanzaa, I know cooperative economics, and that's about it.
You got cooperative economics. You got unity.
Dishes.
Umoja. No.
Kuji Chakalia.
You got collective responsibility and work. I'm saying it, Jill. You got collective responsibility and work. You got unity. You have,
Condoleezza. Janae Condoleezza.
You got creativity.
You need to be in a room with white men and not cuss them out.
Listen, Kwanzaa is an incredible holiday, and the thing is that the names of the holiday, I don't say them in Swahili. I say them in English because I think that is a barrier for me, right? Like I have a very poor enunciation of other languages, and so I won't remember it, right? So I can remember the English definitions of them, and I think that what happened, Jill, I had this Black woman tell me, it was so upsetting. I was celebrating on online, and she inboxes me, and she's like, "You're celebrating a made-up holiday." And I don't think Black people need that. And I was like, okay, lady, every fucking holiday
is made up. Okay.
Thanksgiving was made up, but you still sit there and eat that turkey. And so all of these holidays were made up. And even one of the things, Jill, that's really upsetting, and we'll save that for tomorrow, is about how our culture, specifically Black American culture, folks just have this idea that we just don't have culture. And I'm trying to explain to them that, number one, we have culture. Number two, our ethnicity is really fucking new. And the fact is that all of these older cultures, they're rooted in things that are just as coincidental as the electric slide. So 100 years from now, the electric slide is going to be a cultural dance for Black Americans. And so now you can look back, but our ethnicity is new. We've only been in existence since 1776, so what is that, 300 something years? And so now you're looking at the manifestation of us having cultural songs like Frankie Beverly and Mays, Before I Let You Go. In 100 years, that's going to be our cultural, That's going
to be the national anthem.
No, seriously, right? And so
with the remix by Beyonce.
Right?
The queen of Black America.
I think that that's important, and we got to celebrate our heritage. We just do, and I like the fact that I went to Haiti. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think one of the problems of celebrating is that we don't really know it. We don't. How far can most of us go back in our lineage? Do you know what I'm saying? I wasn't here. Must have been on another live. But you've been to you've been to my house, and you see all of that. I'm very blessed, and that's just a few of them, to be able to go back 4 generations. But that's it. I have a picture of the last person in my family that was a slave. That's 5. That's as far as I can go. Some people can't go that far. You know what I'm saying? And what if I had not, like I would love to know how she got here. All I know is she got from Aberdeen, Mississippi to Chicago, thus they got to Detroit. But how did she get to Aberdeen, Mississippi? You know what I'm saying? How did all, you know what I'm saying? I mean, there was a whole line before her, because 5 generations, what is that? 100 and some odd years? No, a little bit more. Math wasn't my specialty. But to your point, Janae said, I can't go back past my great grandparents. Have you taken the genealogy test? I don't trust that shit, Eric.
No, I don't. But my family, and I think that's what's important. You know, on my dad's side, we went back pretty far. We went back to the early 1800s. I think it was 1819, and that was the furthest. Yeah, that was the furthest we can go back, and that was only. But that was only because we were in servitude that long, and they had records of the spell, you know. And
that's got to be like 18, maybe 25.
Yeah,
something.
And the thing that pisses me off about the whole conversation with just folks saying stuff like go back to Africa and shit like that. It's so funny because many of us that are Black American, we've been here longer than most of these white people that came over with the Irish in the 1920s. And so I think it's so incredible that you hear people say that, and you're probably more American than they are, and built this country by force. I think that for us, I've been to Jill's house and I saw that photo of her relative.
I have to tell you, he was sitting on my couch. He was like, "Who are these people?" Like, I think after he he thought they were just like posters or something, some shit, I bought at a museum or something. And it's like it kind of dawned on him. He's like, "Who are these people?" And listen, and we had more. It's only because my great grandfather was a numbers man, and we always had a photographer, in the house at all times. And there were so many more, but as things would happen, and I took, when I went to college, all of this, and I just didn't get anything else. But I'm, it's just a blessing to be able to have that. But I think that was, and somebody who said, have I ever tried genealogy? We did, and I said I don't trust it. We did it once, and it was like everybody was from someplace, Ethiopia or Nigeria. Like everybody in our family was like, how y'all know that? Y'all couldn't even trace to where I know we came from, is Aberdeen, Mississippi. So how what we was from Nigeria and this and other?
Well, they had
some of that's made up. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it is, and I got mine, and it was interesting because the one that I received, and I did it, and it was funny when I was at Jill's house, her photos on the walls looked like a James Van Der Zee collection, right? And that's what I thought it was. I was like, whoa, Jill has this incredible collection of James Van Der Zee originals. Then it turned out that it was just her family. But the eerie photo that she has on the wall of her relative that was the slave, guys, and I have one. I told her we have one as well. Yep. When you see this, it really, really it was almost like watching a horror movie, because you saw her other relatives they're standing up straight, they're looking at the camera, and the relative that was the slave, it was literally as if there was a supernatural force pressing her down. And she was just it hit home. Because that's how, even though we're not slaves,
it does to you.
It's like I immediately connected with whatever that was that she was feeling. It's like we have the fucking stardust of that shit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Great way to say it. Yep, it is. It is. It really, really is. And that's why it's so important, for as far back as you can go. Maybe that is something, Stars, that's a great thing to do for Juneteenth. Do you know what I'm saying? Is for people to get together and trace their family back as far as they can, because this whole quarantine, I was telling you, my family, we get on like every 2 weeks now, we get on a Zoom call, and each person will tell their story, because even those of us that are still here, we don't know everything. We have one living relative, Aunt Carol, who, and Sandra, my cousin, is on here somewhere. Carol can draw the line to how we got to the last relative that was a slave, and then who all of her children were. Because all of us didn't even know that. I know my grandmother, but I didn't know her 4 sisters. You know what I'm saying? So that's something that maybe, you might want to consider for your Juneteenth celebrations, is kind of get your family together and be like, how far can we trace this family back? You know what I'm saying? Because we owe it. If we don't do it, right, what has happened to a lot of our families is that we don't have the heritage to give to our children so that they can walk in the world knowing from whence they came. That's a great analogy that you use, Starx, because when you don't know, you kind of end up bent over like my
literally
third great grandmother, the last one that was a slave. However, but when you do know, you stand and walk in pride because you know what got you to that space.
Yeah,
that might be something really great to do for Juneteenth.
I think that would be a great activity to do. And we, with my family, that's how I found out, Jill. That's literally how. And what's so crazy? When I was talking to my great grandmother, I was afraid of her. She just I was scared of her as a child. And it was funny when I was talking to her about her mother. That's how I found out who, like, her grandma. I was like, Jesus Christ! So my great grandmother knew her grandparents. That's how long. And my great grandmother. This was in 2003, and she, when I was talking to her about her grandmother, I'm like, damn, you're 93. So how long have we been? You know what I'm saying? Like, how long have we been here? So. It becomes hard for Black Americans because once you land at the plantation, it's kind of impossible for you to find out anything else because your humanity was gone. So now that's what happened, and that's why I know I put that on my page, but I was real serious about that. I don't like this Smith name, and I don't want to keep this last name. And so if I can in the near future, I am changing my name. And if I have kids, I don't want my kids to have this. I don't want them with this last name because this person was a horrible person. And, it's just so hurtful for us to walk around. I feel like the way those Africans look when they put on those fucking blonde wigs in court, they look ridiculous. And I think we look ridiculous with these last names. And so I think that as we move forward, and then Black people, I don't give a fuck about the ones that are, I'm going to keep my last name. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Keep it. I'm not discrediting you from wanting to remain branded with that shit. But for me, I'm going to look into
right.
I'm sorry.
You said for me and have you been to the Smithsonian?
Yes, I have. Of course.
Museum of I haven't been yet. I went to DC. Are you going? Are they having CBC this year? Have you heard yet?
I doubt it because that'd be a perfect way to kill off all our leaders. And I think what I think they're doing. I think they were probably in the air spraying that corona around at those fucking protests.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised because it's a perfect storm, right? Like you got this disease that's disproportionately affecting Black people. Then you create a fucking issue to have them gather themselves together, and then you just go ahead and spray them. And that shit scares me a lot because if we ever have an evil sect in the government that's covert and well, I mean that
we do have one.
No, we had that, right? The CIA did a number
right now.
Yeah, they did a number on us, and it was interesting because the CIA, people don't realize this, but they settled hundreds of fucking Nazis. The CIA was so visceral and evil that they took Nazis and put them up in Florida, put them up literally in Florida and other states and gave them money and had full families, right? And this is what I want our people to turn into. People always go, oh, you're always talking about Jewish people. And it's like, I need us to have this energy. The Jewish people went bananas and they were like, fuck that. They got a fucking group and was like, we're going to hunt all of them down. And so imagine if our young Black militant professionals thought that way about fucking Klansmen. And we see, and you go right to Alabama and you see that our people were being lynched in the lynching museum that Brian Stevenson and Oprah, and she did something good, Oprah donated money to. And, that museum, when you go there and you see, Jill, it's impossible not to be mad when you come out of there because you're like, my God, the last lynching was 1983. What?
No, the last lynching was 3 days ago.
Well, I didn't hear a lot about that.
So they have found two young men, and I think there was maybe it's 3 young men and a woman, but there are 4 cases right now of Black people hanging from trees. And one of the ACLU, I think, we'll bring the story up fully tomorrow. But one of the ACLU directors was talking about it with somebody on CNN. And he said that they have reported the youngest young man, I think he was 23 years old, as a suicide. And then he said, however, there was no chair present. And when have you ever? I mean, we are under siege in a way that, if coronavirus don't keep you in the house, just the sheer stalking of Black people right now would keep you in the house. And you know that now that they're finding that Boogaloo group is responsible for the majority of the fires, when all of the, because you and I talked about that during the day, those peaceful protesters, the people at night are somebody totally different, especially the first couple of days of this. And now I'm serious. Now they're finding the videotape is showing up everywhere, of these white hands throwing bombs, and where all them bricks come from. How many Black people got a truck full of bricks? They just gonna leave on the side of the road for you to take? Come on. That's some organized. We don't even think that far ahead. Okay?
The bricks were so cartoonish. It was like something from Tom and Jerry. With the 3 holes, like it was just perfect. Like really? Finger insertion here, and now you can just.
Hey, we don't plan nothing that far.
Oh God!
And it wasn't 4th of July, so there'd be no reason for us to have bricks other than make a barbecue pit. So that is complete and total foolishness. But you have to sit in that moment for a second that this is so deep and heinous that they joined themselves to Black Lives Matter movement to come out and kill, rob, pillage, and steal, and have America think that it was us out there doing it.
No, they're still still
doing it.
Middle white America, and we're gonna be, like I said, we're gonna be driving to Kentucky soon.
God bless you. Here, let me make you some holy water for the ride.
I really appreciate that. I need some sage. I got my sage, but the middle America, that's exactly what they feel, right? Like they have been very successful in making these folks feel that it's Black people doing these things. And that's why I laugh, because when you saw that white woman, it was 2 white women that set the Wendy's on fire.
Right.
And so now you have one with that aerosol can, and then you have the other one just brandishing her whole face and body, and she's yet to be found. I think it's so incredible how inept and incompetent the police departments are when it comes to hunting down white women, right? And that's the thing that I was getting at with the Jewish people. When they're under attack, they defend themselves. Right. They don't defend themselves by militant, right? But they use their wealth, they use their collective wealth, and they will pressure the fuck out of anyone that comes. And what I love about them is that they don't even want you to have their name in your mouth. No, don't even fucking say. So if you say anything, I'm gonna have the Anti-Defamation League. I'm gonna have everyone shut you the fuck down. So they are a very protected group. And the thing about our people is that we don't have the protection from our elected officials. We don't have the protection from our organizations that's sitting there getting rich now because of all of the white guilt that's pouring into them. You should see the amount of money that the Urban League has gotten, the amount of money that the NAACP has gotten. And I'm asking myself, why are you not doing the work on behalf? Get a militarized militia, hire a bounty hunter, hunt down every single Klansman, hunt down all of these George Foremans on the run that hasn't been brought to justice, get the list of Black girls that are being kidnapped and sexually trafficked, and deal with this. But you're sitting there and you're having fucking functions and ballroom dances and all of these other things that have nothing to do with it. You don't need that shit. So if I'm going to spend $500,000, Jill, on a dinner, spend that money on bounty hunters hunting down the perps that are killing our people. You know, I just don't get it.
Can't go to none of that this year. You know, I joke a lot about that, but I think that is probably the biggest bane of my existence. And you know what we do is because 9 times out of 10, I'm walking in them rooms like we don't have a goddamn thing to celebrate right now. What is this? And why again are we giving all of these major white corporations all of this money? I hate these events that the NAACP on down keep doing. Nothing is coming out of them. Nothing but funding some Marriott corporation who's going to give the organization a 6% kickback, you know, or some foolishness. And I don't know why. And then we, you know, give each other these awards for what? What did you do this year? You know what I'm saying? If we're not in to your point, and the reason why I got I'm so upset about this is that when my mom was sick, I was in Mount Sinai for just months on it. And I used to walk the halls and look at all the plaques on the wall of all the Jewish people who donated money to build that hospital. Then I watched a documentary about the Jewish community on Miami Beach and how the Jews that came to Miami Beach had basically kind of been run out of New York. And they came down here.
They were run out of Miami Beach too.
Right. Well, there's that too.
They defended themselves.
But thank you. That's what I'm saying. They are collective. So then I started subscribing to Jewish magazines, right? 2 of them. The first thing I noticed is that there were no ads for Gucci and Coach and none of that stuff. There were ads for real estate. There were ads for schools. There were ads for burial plots. And not even, I'm serious.
No, I know. That's what I'm
you know what I'm saying? And it is, you are what you focus, to your point, you are what you focus on, right? You pick up, if you can find a black magazine nowadays, but when it's hair care, all those products, 9 times out of 10,
they're not black,
are not black owned companies. Do you know what I'm saying? So when you have some other people so entrenched in your community and they're giving and putting more money in than we're doing, that's why we're in this space. That's why Jews can say, back up. We will decide how this goes. And then we'll get back to you.
Yeah. I think.
And that's the only way you get in that space to be able to do it, is you got to take care of your own. And that is the greatest frustration that we in our lifetimes will not see black people get to that point.
You know, what was that guy's name? The owner of the racist Jewish guy that said that black people don't, what was his name over on the West Coast on that team, and he got in trouble when he was with that Asian woman.
Oh yeah. We know who you're talking about. What
is his name? Guys, you guys remember his name?
He had a black girlfriend, and oh god, I can see him. What was one of the
right? I can see he looked like a leprechaun. Right. Yeah, Sterling, something Sterling.
Donald Sterling.
Donald Sterling.
That's it.
Yeah, you know what? Donald Sterling.
Janae for the win.
Thanks, Janae. Donald Sterling said something, and he said that Jewish people support each other. Jewish people care about one another, and he's like, black people need to do the same thing. And it's always a bit upsetting when you hear another culture condemn your culture, because it's like you don't really know how complex this is, so it's kind of hard for you to make that comment. However, when those comments are coming from an ill-gotten source or unrighteous source, but nonetheless is the truth, it hurts even more, because you don't want someone speaking an empirical truth on your people. And so for me, I just don't like the fact that we become so docile when it comes to defending us outside of us, but we become extremely aggressive when it comes to defending ourselves against each other. And so if we had that same energy, that when a black person or Sambo, or the way we went after Trina, you know, when white folks do that, when Don Imus did that and called those black women nappy-headed hoes, we didn't act the way we acted on Trina. You know, I did. You know, and I wait for them to do some shit so I can do a Karen report or blast them for forever. Yeah. And that narrative, I think we do that because we fall into that narrative of of, oh, you don't care about, it falls into the same narrative, right? Black on black crime. What about that? You know, so no, it's like, so if you start attacking someone, the black suffering has become so muted by black people that it translates outside of our race. And so when we don't see the compassion with each other, it becomes very difficult for folks outside of us to be able to have it. And so I sat there and watched the failed policies of Dr. King with this nonviolent stuff. And I remember when he said, I fear I've integrated my people into a burning house, because I'm looking at this stuff and looking at this big black man be tossed around, punched in the face. You don't have to be like 1958, 60 or whatever. And I'm just looking at this and I'm like, there's no fucking way that I would have been a part of Dr. King's movement at all. I wouldn't have been out there doing that shit. I literally would have been, hey, if we got to start our own bus company, let's ride our own buses. We don't have time to integrate their buses. I don't give a fuck about their buses. And that's something that I've always had. I never had this idea of like making them like us or care about us. And then you become the same way that we talked about, how when white people deal with you, they treat us as like almost like a fucking pet. Guess what we do? We change our narrative of who we are. We change the way that we speak, the tonality, the way we stand. It's all nice and smiles and stuff. And I'm like, well, why don't you do that for your own people? I've seen black people that are nasty as fuck to each other. And then you go on these white people's spaces and faces and you just change. And I'm like, give me that fakeness.
I just really think that I think that it'll come. It may not be in our lifetime. It's going to have to be. What got us here was really desperate struggle and death and, sadness and struggle. And I think we're about to go through the next cycle of that. And, we may not be here when that reckoning comes for the Black community. But, if you study some Jewish history, they had in the beginnings, when those who lived through the concentration camps came to America, they struggled to build their communities as well, but they did, and we are struggling, but, nobody came to this country enslaved but us. Nobody came against their will but us. And that is a wound so deep that, I don't have any misconceptions that I'll see what we want to see in my lifetime. I don't.
Well, I think that,
but I hope that what we're doing, like, think about it, Star X, 30 years from now, some kids are going to come across these tapes, and they're going to be like, damn, they've been talking about this shit forever. Maybe that's how we got the initiative. You know what I'm saying? And that's really all that we can do is be good stewards of our time. And pray, just like that James Baldwin I played for you the other day. I played it for my kids at Urgent, that I'm teaching at Urgent Inc. And, they were just blown away. That happened in 1968, but they could relate to it in this moment. And none of these kids are over 20. You know what I'm saying? So, we just got to put it out there. And I'm sure James Baldwin is happy about where we are now. You know what I'm saying? And so,
No, you're right. I think that one of the things, one of the things, Jill, is the whole Jewish Black connection is so interesting, because when you start looking at any white person in this country that's done some amazing work financially behind Black people, it's always Jews, and so I'm just like, I want to know, and I'm gonna bring a very wealthy Jewish person on the show. And we're going to talk to him and we're going to ask him all those questions and see if those are preconceived notions or, because when you talk to them, they internally, they have their own problems. Like with the Orthodox Jews, they feel the same way we feel about hood Black people. They feel that way a lot about Orthodox Jews because they have a lot of kids. A lot of them are on social services and all that stuff. But even in that space, one of the things that I want to ask is that what is it going to take for Black people to feel connected to one another? I think that I don't understand how we don't have that connection. Even when these folks come from the Caribbean or from Africa, right now, 54 African nations just got together to discuss discrimination and issues on the continent. And so that's an experience. I know when Caribbean folks come over, they go, well, you know, my island was all black, and I don't really know about this racism thing that you're experiencing. But then when you go to the island, you see that they have colorism. You see that you don't have a lot of white people, but you have a lot of fair-skinned black people that have sort of taken the place of those white people. And that's who have all the money. They have all the power. And then you allow people like Syrians and other, you know, Indians to come on your island and take over. And so that's a thing, that's something that I want to know. Why do our people on this side of the world and in Africa seemingly allow non-black people to come in and just wreak havoc? No other, like, why? That's something that I want to know. That's something that does. It's not just black people, by the way. Other cultures do it as well, like Native Americans, right? Like people who have been oppressed or suppressed or whatnot. But I want to know why that's something that is continuously happening. And the only nation to never have allowed that to happen has been the Ethiopian people. And so that's the only group of black people that I know of that literally said, you will not come here, even if I have to fight you with sticks and stones. And Mussolini was dropping acid on me. Well, no, they allowed them to come back. They allowed them to come back. The Ethiopians never
to come back after.
No, there ain't no coming back. They never came. They tried and they fought them. That was the only empire that was black that said we will never.
That you say that, because we're about a decade apart. And when I was growing up, you know, in Detroit, you know, it was, you know, Haiti was the country that you should study and emulate, because they said, you know, they kicked white people out with they conquered white people with sticks and rocks.
Yeah.
You know that it can be that it could be done. But they came back. But that says a lot, right? They came back, and now look at Haiti. They let them people come back, and now look at Haiti.
And so Janae just said, you see how they treat Ethiopia in the media, though. And guess what Ethiopia said? I don't care. Not only did Ethiopia say, I don't care, they said, you know what, as a matter of fact, you guys aren't going to be adopting any of our kids. When they saw what they were doing over here, these white women adopting small black boys and raising them as girls. Mm-hmm. And that was something that the child didn't even have a decision there, you know? So like, what is that? You know,
Orthodox is a good. Erica said a good documentary is Orthodox. That is a good one. And what was the other? She mentioned another one. One of Us. Did you mention? Yeah, I haven't seen One of Us yet, but yeah, Unorthodox is good. It's really good. And you know, yeah, when you do one of my very, very best friends on the planet is Jewish, and it's really interesting too, because he's younger than my group of like five. It's five of us, and one of us took him in. He was homeless. His parents, you know, turned on him when they found out he was gay, and one of our other friends took him in. And however, he has gone on to be more wealthy than all of us put together. And it's just a paradox. I mean, he had, you know, I can't say that he definitely had a little more focus than us, but no, I won't even say that. We had the same amount of focus, but he had the opportunities to get in those spaces that the others of us weren't afforded at a time when it could have made a major difference, like, you know, between that 2025. And it's a very interesting dichotomy, but yeah, that would be a great conversation for us to have, because yeah, everybody has a good, rich Jewish friend.
You know,
and I do, and their perspective on our people who support us, our Jewish people that are, you know, down for the cause, have a very interesting perspective and honor for the resilience of Black people.
I think that's a good segue to end the show today.
Yeah.
Tomorrow we will be discussing that point exactly. Black Resistance
Modeling Agency. Soul Artist Management is the name of his company. You can look it up. And it's all, you know, he is the largest male modeling agency in the country, and a great, well, not a great, but a nice majority of his models are Black. Tyson Beckford is with him. Beth Ann, I'll tell you in one sentence, Beth Ann Hardison is a dear friend of Jason's, and Beth Ann walked all of her models when she closed her agency over to Jason. So that tells you a little bit about it. But it's sole artist management for everybody who wants to know. He also has Maxwell. Maxwell has a deal with Louis Vuitton through them. So that's a whole nother show. All right,
Yeah.
so that's a whole other show.
But tomorrow we'll definitely be discussing Black resistance, examples of Black resistance, because I think that's needed now, right? Like, how does that look? How does our resistance to oppression look in a manner that is productive and impactful, right? So, okay, guys.
Thank you, guys. And yes, Marcella, I cannot even listen. When I tell you about how he shares the wealth, I can't even. I would be in I can't even tell you. But he has quite shared some of the greatest experiences of my life have been with him. So I'll tell you that. I'll just say that. But yeah, that's why he's my friend. Otherwise, reciprocity, baby, is everything. So anyway, thank you guys for joining us again today. We're actually almost getting no, we didn't make it. We tried to make 2 hours.
We did better though. We did way better.
We're 2:35. We're gonna get this sucker down in 2 hours.
We did better.
But I'm glad that you all stayed with us, and I hope you have a great day. Oh, there's some people in the private chat. Did you go over there?
That's me.
Oh, okay.
That's me and Carla Hall.
Oh, okay. Oh, got that. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Love you. Have a great day. Peace. I'll talk to you later.